For the past 2 years, I've been alone in the woods of eastern Canada trying to restore an old wooden sailboat. Between the rain, snow, bugs, and general disorganization, progress so far has been slow. But now that changes, hopefully, because I'm building myself and the boat a proper workshop, and plus I'm not alone anymore. The site of the new workshop is amazing. It's in a meadow right at the edge of the woods that's absolutely teeming with life. I think this is going to be a great place to work on the boat. Before I could start building the workshop, I needed to hire an excavator to prepare the site. And while I was waiting for him to finish up, I took some time to do some shingling work on a cabin. To build the workshop, I decided to use shipping containers as the main part of the structure, with a framed roof spanning between them. I chose shipping containers for a few reasons. First, they're strong. As much as I would like to build a quick and cheap stick-framed shelter sheathed in plastic, I don't think it would hold up to the constant and sometimes violent winds we get here off the Bay of Fundy, not to mention the snow. Second, they're an instant, dry, and secure place to keep my tools that have been getting battered by the weather for the last 2 years. And third, I'm also designing it to be semi-temporary, so that the roof will break down and fit into the containers once I'm done with the boat repair. And at that point, I'll be able to move it to another location or sell it as a workshop in a box for someone else to use. As a bonus, they're heavy enough to act as anchors without having to pour any concrete footings. With the excavation work all finished, I cut some hemlock 4x4s to 8 feet and set them down on the slate pad before the driver showed up with the first container. It was pretty cool to watch the unloading process, and the containers are way bigger in person. They're 40 feet long and 9.5 feet high.
So, right there?
That's good.
Right.
Whoa. The next day, he came by with the other one and repeated the process. The driver wasn't able to get the first container placed straight since there are some trees in the way, but he was kind enough to offer to drag it into place with the winch on his trailer.
Okay, that one there. Kind of just behind her in front of the door, yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate it. And just like that, the foundation of the workshop was there. Now all I have to do is get them adjusted and squared up. Luckily, they only weigh 8,600 pounds. Whenever I go into town for groceries or supplies, I've been taking the truck and picking up a load of lumber from the sawmill, trying to make the most out of every tank of gas. The Sawyer also gave me a free 8x8 reject beam that had been laying around for a year or so. I'll cut it up into chunks to place under the keel of the boat once it's time to bring it over. I've started a big stack of the lumber in a spot that I think will be out of the way enough, but not too far that it's a pain to grab the materials when it comes time to start framing. I like to have all of the materials on hand if possible before I start the job, unless there's nothing else to do. One of my biggest pet peeves is having to run to the hardware store or lumber mill in the middle of the job. I find it completely kills the momentum of whatever task you're doing, but it happens sometimes. Actually, it happens pretty much every time. Over the course of my childhood, I had 2 dogs. They both lived long and happy lives, but when we lost them, it really crushed me. I thought the fear of that pain would stop me from having a canine companion ever again, but then these 2 taught me that that's no way to live. Mara and Niska are sisters. They're St. Bernard Newfoundland puppies and came from an accidental litter of 11. Yikes. I can't tell you how much joy they've already brought me, and I have a feeling that they're going to continue teaching me a lot. What?
Oh my gosh.
Back at the workshop, as the lumber pile got ever higher, it became less stable since the pallets weren't completely level. I unstacked all the wood, which was a pain, leveled the pallets, and then ripped stickers out of some old pine clapboard siding that I took off the cabin. It's too thin to be much use anywhere else. Stickers are just thin strips of wood that go between each layer of boards in a stack of lumber. They do a few things: stabilize the stack by tying the boards together, help keep the boards from warping, and allow even airflow across all four faces of the board, helping it dry faster and more evenly. And since I'm working with green hemlock, which, as my sawyer says, is heavier than lead, any little bit helps. After sweating through 2 changes of clothes and making another trip to the lumber mill, I now have almost all the lumber I need to build the structure. The groundwork is laid and I have almost all of my tools on site and ready to go, so I'm ready to go hard on the workshop. Next, I'll get the containers squared up and anchor some 2x4s to the top of them to attach my trusses, and then I can start cutting lumber and framing. So I was hoping that this video would be me showing off at least a mostly finished workshop, but clearly that's not the case. I've run into quite a few delays with the excavation and with me getting materials and trying to balance the timing of everything, like bringing the shipping containers. But quite a few people suggested that they would like to see the full workshop build. So I'm gonna show the whole workshop build. And I'm gonna try to get it done as quick as I can. It's not gonna be super fancy. Just gonna get a roof on this and then eventually close in the end walls, but I might even do that later in the season and just deal with the bugs because I wanna get back on the boat. It's really starting to get to me. But I'll try to make this as entertaining as I can, and it should be a fun build. I think it's gonna be really cool, this workshop, once it's done. So yeah, I hope you enjoy